In this lesson, we're going to learn about how to edit documents. We're going to learn how to select text using both the mouse and the keyboard. We're going to learn how to edit text. We're going to learn about the undo and redo features, and we're going to learn how to copy and move text. So the first thing we're going to talk about is selecting text, and we're going to talk about how to select text using the mouse. Now, most of you are very familiar with the click and drag method, which is place your mouse cursor in front of what you want to highlight, click, hold, and drag across it, and then release your mouse cursor, or your mouse button, and you have now selected that particular text so that we can now edit it. That's the most common way. It works pretty well. It works in all situations, but there are better and faster ways to select certain types of text depending on what you're working on. One of my favorite ways to select text is selecting a single word using the double click method. Incidentally, when we have text that's selected, if we don't want it selected anymore, we just have to find an empty white space, click, and it will deselect the text. Well, let's say, for instance, I wanted to highlight the word overview. I could do the click, hold, and drag method, but a much quicker and easier way is to just double click the word and it highlights that single word. This works on any word in your document. I can double click on a word and it highlights just that single word. Okay? What if you wanted to select an entire sentence? Alright? If I wanted to select an entire sentence, I could triple click. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, and notice it highlights the entire sentence. Now what it does is it looks for an ending punctuation mark. So if there is a period in the sentence, such as like Dr. Jones, this feature might not work completely correctly. But for the most part, if I'm go into a sentence and I triple click 1, 2, 3, it will highlight that entire sentence for me. Okay, this is great for when editing, taking out a sentence, or wanting to move a sentence. What if I wanted to highlight an entire paragraph? Well, I could click 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it highlights the entire paragraph for me. Okay, so just to review that, because those are really neat tricks to have in your back pocket, I can double click, it selects a word. I can triple click, it selects a sentence, and I can quad click, or 4 clicks, and it selects an entire paragraph. Okay. Now, what if you wanted to select a large block of text? You know, sometimes on new computers, when you do the click, hold, and drag method, when you drag down, there we go, that was a great example. It scrolls so fast that it's hard to actually put the mouse cursor exactly where you want it to go. So here's a really neat trick. What you do is you put the cursor at the beginning of what you want to highlight. Then scroll down to the end of what you want to highlight. But before you click, hold your shift key down and then click at the end of what you want to highlight. And what it does is it highlights or selects everything between your first click and your second click. Let me demonstrate that again. So you put your starting click, hold the shift key down, put your end click, and it grabs everything in between. Okay, it's another great feature to have in your back pocket. Okay, what if you wanted to select a couple different words and you wanted to do something to them, such as make them bold? Okay, what you can do is double click that word, hold your control key, then double click the next word, hold your control key, double click the next word. And what you can do is you can highlight individual words by holding your control key down as you go through your document. Okay, that way you don't have to highlight bold, highlight bold, highlight bold. Here you can go through, select everything that you want to make bold, Then once it's selected, you could go and you could make it bold or do whatever editing feature you want to it. Okay, so that is editing or selecting text using your mouse. Many people don't take full advantage of their keyboard when selecting text. Okay, have you ever had a situation where you go to highlight something and it ends up like that, where you're missing the first letter? Okay, this happens a lot when you're trying to copy and paste something off the internet. You go to highlight something and it drops the first or last letter, or it grabs a little too much, and you try to do it again with your mouse and you become frustrated. One of the things that I can do is I can extend or delete selecting by holding my shift key down and then using my arrow key. So I've got my shift key down, I'm going to press my left arrow key, and what it does is it extends my selection to the left one character and grabs everything to the left. What if I had too much? Well, I could keep my shift key down and use my right arrow key, and I could delete my selection. Okay, so I can grab that selection. So for instance, if I have my cursor down here and I want to highlight the word uses, I can hold my shift key down and I can use my right arrow key and I can select uses one character at a time. Okay. Now I've got another neat little trick. I'm going to keep my mouse cursor here in the middle of the document, and I'm going to do Control Shift and my arrow key, and what that does is it goes from wherever my cursor is to the end of the word. So that grabbed half the word because my cursor is in the middle of the word. But if I put my cursor at the beginning of the word system, I do Control Shift right arrow key, it grabs the entire word. One thing I don't like about this method is it grabs the space after the word as well. So I'd have to use my shift key without control, press left, and I'd have to get rid of that one extra space. Alright? If I am at the beginning of a sentence and I do Shift End, you have an end key, what it does is it grabs that entire sentence, okay? Or that entire line, not sentence. If I do Shift Home, it goes from wherever my cursor is and highlights back to the beginning of the sentence. Okay? What if I wanted to grab my entire document? I can do Control A, and what that does is selects the entire document. So you've learned some neat little tricks to use with your mouse. You've learned some neat tricks to use with your keyboard as well. Alright, now that we know how to select text, let's talk a little bit about editing text. And more specifically, we're going to talk about the difference between insert and overwrite. Okay. Alright, if I come up to the beginning of my document and I start to type, if I put in a new word, you'll notice that it inserts it. It keeps what was there and puts in front of it what I've typed. You can tell that you're in insert mode because down on the bottom of your window, right where my mouse is, it says insert. Okay? If I press the insert key on my keyboard, sometimes it's abbreviated INS on some keyboards, what it does is it changes it to what's called overwrite. Okay? So now, if I begin to type, it gets rid of the words and overwrites them. You'll also notice what OpenOffice does is it creates a blinking cursor wherever the cursor currently is, alerting you to the fact that you're in overwrite mode. In most cases, we stay in insert mode. So what I'm going to do is press my insert key again, and it puts me back to insert mode. Okay. Now, if I wanted to delete this text, I could use my backspace key, and the backspace key always deletes text to the left of the cursor. But on a PC, we also have what's called the delete key. And what the delete key is, deletes everything to the right of the cursor. So depending on the position of your cursor, you can use the backspace key, or the delete key. Remember, delete it deletes things to the right of the cursor. Backspace deletes things to the left of the cursor. Okay, so we've made a number of different changes. What if you make a mistake in a word processor? Well, not a big deal, because there's this great feature called undo. For instance, what if I triple click my paragraph here, or quad click my paragraph, I select my entire paragraph, and I bump a key. Oh my goodness, there went my paragraph. Okay, not a big deal. What we have up here on our toolbar is what's called the undo button, and I can click that undo button, and what it does is it takes the last thing I did and takes it away like it never existed. Okay, what's cool about the undo button is that you can use it multiple times. Okay, so you can if you made 7 mistakes in a row, you can undo 7 times and get it back. The opposite of the undo button is the redo button. Okay, if you did something and you undid it but you really want to put it back, I can do redo. It just puts my H back like I had originally typed it. But I'm going to undo it and put that back, so I don't really want to do that. Alright, the last thing we can do, or that we want to talk about, is how to copy and move text. Okay, I'm going to first show it to you using the copy and paste method, and then I'm going to show you how to copy and move text using the drag and drop method. Alright, so let's say I want to take this second paragraph, so I'm going to quad click, and I want to move it below the engineering paragraph. Okay, what I can do is come up here on my toolbar and I can go to cut, and you'll notice what cut does is it takes away that paragraph. Okay, but what it really did was it took it away out of your document and saved it in a special place called the clipboard, so that we could paste it later. So I'm going to delete my extra space here, but I'm going to come down here under engineering, and I'm going to paste, which is this button, and fix up my paragraphs here. And I've now moved that paragraph. I've taken it from one place, I cut it, I took it away, and I pasted it in a new place. I moved it. Well, what if I wanted to make a copy of it? Works very similar. I'm going to highlight my paragraph. I'm going to use my copy button. Notice that the paragraph stays there. Now, wherever I put my cursor, and I paste, I now have a copy of that paragraph. So I now have 2 paragraphs in one spot. Alright, I'm going to undo those changes. Go back to my original. So you notice I can undo all of those things that we just did. Alright, I'm back to my original piece. What if I want to take this Omega Corporation paragraph and I want to move it underneath engineering? What I can do is, once it's highlighted, I can click, hold, and drag, and you'll notice that my cursor changes and I get a very faint dotted line. Wherever that dotted line is, when I release the mouse button, it will move my paragraph. So you see that it took it from one place. I'm just going to fix up, make it look a little better. It took it from one place and moved it to another. I can use that same method in order to copy as well. I'm going to click, hold, and drag it to its new location, but this time I'm going to hold my control key down, and you'll notice that my cursor now changes, has a little plus sign on it. Now when I release my mouse button, it makes a copy of that paragraph as well.